Back several years ago, a game was released on PS Vita, yes, that handheld, and it was called Persona 4 Golden. It was a remaster of a dated game for a new successful system, at least back then, and it was great. Personally, I never played it, but many who did loved it and thought it was a great JRPG. Fast forward to September of 2016, and Persona 5 is finally released, except only in Japanese. But now in April of 2017, the translated version has finally been released and I played it. Let me preface the tone of this review by saying that I believe Persona 5 is a better game than Zelda Breath of the Wild. Well, just kidding. I say that because I'm a nut for JRPGs. Well, there's 3. However, objectively, I do believe Zelda is better, but Persona 5 does get pretty close to catching up to it.
Try to run me through, hold on, think again, don't you know what you're starting?
Persona 5 is a game where you control a nameless protagonist, and by nameless I mean he has one, but they never give you an option for the default name. After a quick Google search, I found his name is Akira Kurusu, and he is the leader of a group called the Phantom Thieves who are looking to reform society. Oh, and disclaimer, but I played using the Japanese voice acting, meaning I got the good experience. I actually think the acting in the English version is good, but the way they pronounce the names is really bothersome. Quick disclaimer again, I've tried summarizing the story countless times in the script, but honestly I can't recall every event in the story, so I'm just gonna read off the Wikipedia page. Give me a break, I finished it almost 3 weeks ago. Naturally, if I'm discussing the story, there are massive spoilers ahead, so stop now if you aren't ready for that. I highly recommend that if you haven't played the game, that you go play it, because the next 2 minutes will ruin the experience if you haven't. However, if you understand the conditions, strap yourself in, prepare yourself, because the story is pretty damn long. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin.
You sure we got the clue how bad this we go, don't you know, no more art.
A vigilante group called the Phantom Thieves of Hearts, led by the protagonist, is cornered inside a casino by police during a heist. The protagonist attempts to escape, but he is captured, arrested, and taken to an interrogation room. There, public prosecutor Sei Nijima confronts him and demands an account of the events that led up to that point. The protagonist begins to tell his story. Here you get to name yourself, and it doesn't give you a default name. His real name is Akira Kurusu, as mentioned before, but it kinda sucks that it doesn't give you that default. Putting an American or foreign name into a Japanese setting just seems kinda stupid, but whatever. After Akira defends a woman from being molested by powerful politician Masayoshi Shido, Shido uses connections to have Akira charged with assault and put on probation, resulting in his expulsion from his school. Akira is sent to Tokyo to stay with his family friend Sojiro Sakura and attend Shujin Academy during his year-long probation. After his arrival, he is drawn into the Velvet Room, where Igor warns him that he must rehabilitate to avoid forthcoming ruin, and grants him special access to a supernatural mobile app that leads Akira into the metaverse and the palace of the school's manipulative volleyball coach Kamoshida. In the metaverse, Akira meets Morgana, who convinces him to change wicked people's hearts by stealing their treasure, the emotional root of their behavior from the palaces ruled by their shadow selves. A palace is described in-game as a person's distorted desires taking on a physical form. After successfully reforming Kamoshida and having a second brief encounter with Shido, Akira and Morgana form the Phantom Thieves, stealing corruption from the hearts of adults in an attempt to reform the city. You don't want your life to be this drastically impacted in only a month? Akira should have act calm, but whatever. Maybe all this shit happens on a day-to-day basis. The founding members are Akira, Morgana, Ryuji, and Anne. On subsequent heists, they are joined by Yusuke, Makoto, Futaba, and Haru. As their numbers and successes grow, they attract the attention of public and police, including Sei and detective prodigy Goro Okechi. They learn that a secret conspiracy is manipulating events behind the scenes and is directly connected to some of the Phantom Thieves' reasons for joining. Haru's father tries to reveal this group's leader after he's reformed, but an assassin kills him. In their pursuit of the conspiracy, the group is joined by Akechi and goes on a mission into Sei's palace, when she discovers their identities. Following her defeat, the group is forced to split up when they are confronted by police, and Akira is arrested, leading to the interrogation in the frame story. Akechi is subsequently revealed to be a traitor working for the conspiracy. Hope he didn't spend a lot of time upgrading equipment. Akira convinces Sei of his righteousness, and hatches a scheme to use the reality within Sei's still intact palace to save himself when Akechi attempts to kill him in a staged suicide. Failure to complete any palace prior to this results in Akechi killing Akira. Escaping into hiding with Sei's help, Akira convenes with his friends Sei and Sojiro. They determine that the conspiracy's leader is Shido, who's been using Akechi's ability to infiltrate the metaverse to remove obstacles to becoming the prime minister and imposing his reforms on Japan. The group infiltrates Shido's palace, and there they face Akechi, revealed to be Shido's illegitimate son, bent on revenge towards Shido for his years of neglect. Once defeated, Akechi sacrifices himself to allow the Phantom Thieves to reach Shido. Shido is defeated, and in the real world confesses to all his actions. The game then skips forward to just before Christmas. The general public has turned on the Phantom Thieves, and Sei's efforts to prosecute Shido are failing. The Phantom Thieves make a final heist to steal the treasure of the mementos, the People's Palace, at the metaverse's core. Inside, they find the imprisoned shadows of their targets and other Tokyo residents who have chosen to give up making their own decisions. The Phantom Thieves are then ejected from the mementos by the treasure, a giant holy grail, and subsequently vanish after witnessing the metaverse merging with reality. Waking in the Velvet Room, Akira confronts Igor, Caroline, and Justine. He persuades Caroline and Justine to merge, revealing their true form, Lavenza. Lavenza reveals Igor to be an imposter who is one and the same as the Holy Grail. His true name is that, and because I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm going to call him Y. And he was generated by humanity's wish for control and guidance through life. He granted Akira and Akechi their abilities to see whether the world would be preserved or be destroyed through their actions, all while steering events in its favor. The true Igor, who believed in humanity and was imprisoned by Y, created Morgana to help Akira. Y offers to restore the world if Akira continues in his role. If he accepts, Akira's return to the world to continue his activities at the cost of humanity's freedom. By refusing the offer, Akira reunites with the other Phantom Thieves and they face Y. Their allies rally the popular support of the people, severing Y's control of humanity and allowing Akira to awaken Satanel, a persona manifested from humanity's wish for freedom, to destroy Y and the metaverse. Akira then uses his newfound persona to absolutely destroy Y. Jeez man, did you really need a bullet that big at point blank range? After Y leaves, the world reverts back to normal and the metaverse disappears. Morgana disappears, but before Akira has time to grieve, he must turn himself in so Shido can be prosecuted. His friends and associates successfully help secure evidence of Akira's innocence in the assault charge, leading to a conviction being overturned. Right when Akira is finally released from jail, Morgana appears and reveals he's been hiding as a stray for 2 months. Morgana then chooses that he will be going with Akira back home, and with that the story ends on them driving down the highway. Overall, the story was really good. Keep in mind that all this takes place over a 90-hour campaign, so most of the events are detailed and not as rushed as you may have figured. Although the story took forever to set itself up, everything it taught paid off in the end. All the characters feel fleshed out and complete, and events seem justified and understandable. The lead up to the present moment with you in jail plays out very well. The reveal for Akechi's true role works very well, and the hints they gave were noticeable, but most wouldn't immediately connect the dots. Honestly, the care they put into the game, in this aspect especially, is very noticeable. I'm glad the game was delayed for over half a year because I honestly feel that it wouldn't be as complete without the extra addition of polish on everything. The story is without a doubt the best aspect of this game, but there's still a lot left to cover, so starting off, why not begin with the art and graphics?
And as I look to the horizon, not a cloud, by then stormy weather's go too cold.
Just looking at the intro cinematic, you can tell that a lot of time was put into designing the art style. Never in my life have I seen anything like it, and I love it. It really is only made up of 3 basic colors, but they do a lot with it. Everything they want you to look at stands out, and everything is a joy to look at. When I first opened the menu, I had to take the time to go through each and every screen. All the animations they have look smooth, and I love how exaggerated they can become. Akira himself isn't a naturally creepy person, but seeing his face covered in smooth black shadows with white eyes popping out can change a lot. The letters are randomly capitalized and undercase, and they all look like those craft newspaper projects you did in 3rd grade. They even made a nod to that when they showed the designs of the calling cards. Overall, the art design they were going for looks nice, but how about in-game graphics? Well, they look like anime. Whenever you try to put anime characters into a 3D world, they inevitably all look pretty similar. When you look at a game like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the first thought you have is, wow, it's anime in 3D. Same thing here. The difference here though is the choices they use in color. The colors are very deep and they apply these deep colors to important things. Doors to the Velvet Room are deep purple and very big. You wear deep black clothes while everyone else might wear gray. Confidants have a deep purple card above their heads, and the confidants always stand out. Shadows in the metaverse are a deep black with red lighting on parts of them to make them stand out. They do a good job with this, and it is consistent throughout the whole game. For having such a bland art style such as the 3D anime recreation, they did a lot to make it stand out far above all other competitors.
Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what to photo.
Besides the art style, there's another aspect of the game that I think was heavily invested in towards. The sound and music design's stupid. As I mentioned before, I played the Japanese voice acted version of the game. I have a list of reasons for why I like to do that, but across the total 90 hours, I never really experienced any issues with it. However, the English voice acting contains some glaring issues that I can't help but notice. The actual acting of the characters is very solid, but the way they pronounce certain names completely dumbfounded me. They pronounce certain names in English, which is the wrong way to do it, and it makes them sound really stupid. It would be like taking the word pan for bread in Spanish and pronouncing like pan in English. That being said, the real sound design of the game is pretty good. The sound effects all fit and none of them ever feel out of place. Overall, within the sound design of the game, the music is without a doubt the shining feature of it all. A majority of it can be described as jazz, and the rest of it I don't know how to describe. They are very catchy, and you'd be surprised at how well certain songs fit the mood. Even now that it's been several weeks since I beat the game, I find myself going back and listening to some of the tracks. Overall, I would say that the musical department impressed me quite a lot. After all, I did just have a shortage of that for a month or so. Here, take a listen to some of my favorites.
Where have you been? Been searching all along. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes.
Finally, the aspect that you've all been waiting for, the regular gameplay. Gameplay in this game can more easily be separated into two different groups, inside the metaverse and outside in the real world. Let's start with the real life aspect of the game first. Yes, during the course of your game, you become the most wanted criminal of your country, but that doesn't mean you get to neglect your real life duties. In the real world, your main focus will be improving your confidence and having your personality shine like a star. Literally. There are over 20 confidants you can spend time with. What's a confidant, you ask? Well, a confidant is basically someone who can improve your emotional bond with, whether it be your teammates or this random politician I impressed by being a waiter. There are a total of 10 levels or ranks for each confidant, and every time you see this message and spend time with someone, your bond improves. Get to certain levels and you earn special abilities, like Sojiro. Get them to rank 10, and by that point, you'll be able to make the best coffee and curry you'll have ever imagined. Hey! But what the hell is that? Well, it seems to be a requirement, but what the hell is proficiency? Well, this is where the other aspect, the real world gameplay, comes to play. Remember those activities you like to do in your real life, like sleeping, eating, going to school, working, and doing laundry? Well, guess what? You get to do them in video games too! In real life, your personality is defined by this star, and the 5 points are your 5 traits that you have to improve. Guts, knowledge, charm, proficiency, and kindness. Eating this big ass burger will give you tons of guts, and once you get enough points for a skill, it'll level up, making your star just a wee bit bigger. With these level ups, besides being able to further your confidence, you'll also be able to do little things like go to certain places or get higher scores in your test. Whenever you perform an activity, time passes. You really are only allowed 2 time slots a day on average, but occasionally you'll get an extra one when you're lucky, such as grabbing a seat on the subway. How a 5-minute subway ride is equivalent to several hours worth of reading is beyond my explanation, but it does work that way. Usually when performing an activity, you'll have to do some little mini games, such as remembering people's orders at a restaurant or doing a button combination while playing video games. They're never hard, but at least they provide some activity. But besides the real world, the more important aspect is going into the metaverse. This is where you're actively going to affect society and change the world. Usually palaces are huge dungeons, and your goal is to find the treasure, secure a route to the treasure, send a calling card, and steal the treasure, which usually involves the shadow of the palace owner fighting you. Usually you're given a deadline, and failing to steal the treasure before the designated date results in you straight up dying. To fight back, you use your personas, which can be described as Pokemon, but badass. Each has their own moves and they will gradually level up and gain new abilities. The types of abilities a persona can have are very loose, and any persona can have any ability pretty easily. Each shadow, depending on its abilities and level, will have different resistances and weaknesses. Once you hit a shadow with what they are weak to, they will collapse. If all the enemies on the opposing side are downed, you are sent into Hold Up. In Hold Up, you can do 4 different things. You can use an all-out attack, which basically means you beat the crap out of all the enemies and deal massive damage. You can converse with them and try to get them on your side, try to get some money out of an enemy, or you can ask for an item from an enemy. Doing any of the last 3 if successful will result in you getting no XP, and if you mess up the negotiations, the enemy will either run away or get pissed off and start fighting you again. Trying to converse is always a risk because usually the hardest enemies will have the weirdest personalities, and getting them mad will result in a couple well-deserved deaths. Overall, the difficulty of the palaces is balanced pretty well, but you better be prepared for the bosses because they will kick your ass. Palaces have a notoriety meter, and if it hits 100%, you get booted out of the palace. This never was a problem for me, but once you send the calling card, the percentage jumps straight to 99. On top of that, every enemy in the palace becomes significantly stronger, meaning if you really want to level up some more, you'll have to sit back the time a week. However, even if you are underleveled, it doesn't mean it's the end of the fight. When I fought the second boss, I lost over 10 times, but I managed to win with Joker having no health while everyone else was dead. Yeah. Besides palaces, there is another way to access the metaverse. Not everyone is distorted enough to have a palace, so everyone else resides in the mementos. It takes place in the subway system, and it's basically a gigantic palace for society as a whole. Exploring the whole thing isn't required until the end of the game, but there are memento missions that you can do that involve you stealing someone's heart who resides in the mementos. Here, instead of running around on foot, you drive Morgana around who can transform into a bus. A weird thing for him to turn into, but it beats running around on foot. This area really isn't any different from the regular palaces, so there's not much to talk about. Overall, the gameplay is really fun, and it works well for a 90-hour campaign. Just make sure you have the right abilities on your personas, because some of those later bosses will kick your ass big time. And with that, I've covered most of what Persona 5 is. I've never played a Persona game or even seen one, but this one caught me by surprise. Currently, as of right now, this is my favorite game of this year, and I'm eager to see what Atlus has for the next big installment in the series. I highly recommend this game, giving it a near 9 out of 10. I would give this game a 10 out of 10, but I honestly don't believe that any game has absolutely no flaws, and for as long as it can be improved, it will remain in a 9 out of 10. Anyways, that's it for me, so go out there and get this game. It's on PlayStation 3 and 4. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until the next video, good night.
It's a trap, one more step, and you're dead. Why just the beat to say goodnight?